He's coming, I'm told, because it is a young lawyers panel. He decided to go out and first energize. And I'll call on Mr. Tumukunde Tone, the famous guy of Talk to Tone. He's been in the headlines recently. He has made all the necessary conversation, controversial ones, and lawyers are saying he's selling the young lawyers to the president. Sir, I'm among those that will go with you. Another panelist that we are supposed to have is Madame Joyce Nalunga, the Honorable of the Leadership Code Tribunal. She says she is on the way and also coming. And maybe lastly is Madame JP Bitak Langoy. Is she available? I don't think she is available as well. We shall dig into the conversation. I don't know the IT team, whether we have... Oh, Mr. John Musime is right here. I think substituting Madame Jebitek, Mr. Wambi, I think you can also come and partake in this discussion. Mr. Wambi, you could come and have your seat here. Young lawyers are saying gender sensitivity, we do not have ladies on the panel, but we shall have one coming. She's not a young lawyer per se. She's the honorable member of the Leadership Code Tribunal. So we shall dig into our conversation. For my dear panelists, pondering when I was given this opportunity to moderate this session, this is exactly what came into my mind. And I would gladly want to share with you. It is a case study that we shall look at. I want to share a scenario and a picture for the audience, for all of us. This is a little girl called Jennifer. Jennifer is a determined young woman who pursued her law degree at Bishop Stewart University while managing a small business in Barara on weekends to support herself. After 4 years, she successfully completed her undergraduate studies and applied for the Law Development Center. However, she was forced to abandon her business to attend LDC in Lira, where she earned her postgraduate diploma. After completion of her exams, Jennifer secured a clerkship at Mugoya and Company Advocates. 3 months into her clerkship, she was informed that she could not be retained because she had not yet received her diploma. Once her results were released, Jennifer reapplied for a position at the firm. During this time, she took up temporary employment as a fuel attendant at Starbucks to make ends meet. When Jennifer now reapplied after getting her results, the HR manager, Mr. Kawuchi, requested her, "Please come and meet me at New Best Hotel in Natete to discuss your application." Feeling and looking at the options that were available, Jennifer accepted the offers and she went on to meet Mr. Kawuchi. She was promised a salary scale of 1 million per month, but then after a few months of working, she was informed that she could not be paid that money. She will be paid 200,000. And this is barely enough to even cover her rent. But despite of the challenges, Jennifer remains committed to her legal career. And she was unable to pay for this conference. But she was informed that a YouTube channel has been created and she will be streaming live.
Recording in progress.
So she's at home. Have you heard that? She is at home watching and listening. I want to know from my panelists, this is the problem that a young lawyer is facing to date. She's out of school. She has that diploma. She doesn't have the job. Even that she has gotten, she cannot earn. I'll start with the extreme left. My brother, you are a young lawyer, I do believe. Is your mic on?
Gideon Wambi.
Yes, Mr. Gideon.
A young lawyer representing the members of the WhatsApp group of Law Council Updates.
Thank you so much. That is the context and the spirit. So I've given you our case study. These are the problems that you are facing. You've enrolled. You've enrolled, right?
Have you ever done what?
Have you enrolled?
I've not yet enrolled.
You've not yet enrolled.
Yes.
So these are the problems that you're coming. Then I'll have to first pause with you. Let me first start with Mr. Sim Katende before I go to Mr. John Musime.
Recording in progress.
I think we should let him give us, because he might have some more problems if he hasn't even enrolled. So when we respond, we are catching not just the ones you've raised, but the ones which the young lawyer is raising. So I think he should get the audience to raise all of the problems so that when we respond, we capture everything.
So for perspective, Mr. Sim Katende has advised we have already captured the problem of the enrolled lawyer. Let us look for one who has not yet enrolled. Tell us.
One of the common problems faced by young lawyers who have graduated from law school are unjust delay by law counsel on issuance of certificate of eligibility to enable them enroll at high court so that they can meet the employment requirement in the labor market, both private and public. The delay is based on non-digitalization through collaborative arrangement with other intergovernment departments, namely URACB, which has advanced in the registration process.
Mr. Ivan, I see you have the problem and the solutions. You're saying they need to digitize. Let's first limit it to the problems. One is enrollment. Another one?
Secondly, poor remuneration pay of employment at law firms.
You're seated next to Denton's. Please, please make that. Let him hear. Let him hear. Say it again.
Poor, consistent remuneration pay to young lawyers at law firms of senior lawyers. This is characterized basically poor feeding, poor allowances for transport. Senior lawyers tell young lawyers that the client has not paid me. Where will I get money? Can you take a border board of 2,000 to Maki India?
Thank you. No, you're feeding in a lot of questions. Wait. Do you know why Tumukunde is keeping quiet? When he speaks, they say he's a self-seeker. So today you're facing the young lawyer. Do you have any other question before we jump in with Mr.? Okay, you come on.
Another biggest challenge is with Uganda Law Society, the organizer of this conference. The fee for the practicing certificate cannot be afforded or sustained by the young lawyers because they are unemployed.
Thank you.
Another biggest problem is lack of unfriendly secured loans from financial institutions to enable them meet the enrollment certificate and the process of securing a practicing certificate, where returns can be paid in a favorable condition.
You're unemployed, okay? But you want a loan, right? Right? That's what you're saying. Yes. Okay? Any other question? Those are four.
So, for a moment, I present those ones.
Thank you so much. I'll delve in. I know Mr. Sim Katende before I go to the Denton's people. Sim, please, you first tell us. Enrollment. Let's first excuse you on the enrollment. Let's go for the poor pay. Mr. Sim, do you pay your people? Team, the microphone here.
Yeah, I don't know. This one. Okay. No. The reason why I'm trying not to use this is I don't want to knock over the water and you end up speaking at an angle instead of facing the audience. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for having me on this panel. As I said, I'm not a young lawyer, so really what am I doing on the panel? But I think the idea was when we are speaking to the young lawyers, it's important to also have the perspective from the lawyers on the other side so that you're not just seeing your side of the story. If I'm getting what's being asked, the question really is, if I'm a young lawyer and maybe I've got a chance to work in a law firm, why is it I'm not being paid what I think I should be paid? Why is it maybe I'm still unemployed? Either I'm having difficulty getting employment, there's a delay in enrollment, there's a delay in finding work, and if I'm lucky enough to get that work, why isn't it rewarding me in the same way so I don't have those issues you've raised, transport, food, etc., and so on. And to a larger extent, maybe from a career, because your needs are not going to stop at transport. You're eventually going to have to pay rent, you're going to have to maybe own property, etc. Why aren't I paid what I think I should be paid when I'm starting? Now, I'm going to take a bit of time on this question, and I'm going to address it two ways. One, the reasons why that is the scenario. Two, what I think can be done about it. And three, what it is that you should expect. Now, I'll start with the bad news. The bad news is I was asked to tell everybody the truth. Not to sugarcoat it, not to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not here to tell you work hard, have ethics, all those kind of things, but to show you what the reality is. So that when you appreciate the reality, you can appreciate the solutions. The first is, when we were in law school, there were probably 50 to 100 people at the most. You have 2,000 lawyers. So now I want you, like he gave the scenario of that young lady who has come from law school, I want you to put on the hat of somebody else. Now you are the one who is running a law firm. You have a law firm, you have 5, 10 lawyers with you. At the end of every month, you have to find money to pay them. So this young lawyer comes and applies and says, I want to join your firm. At the time they have applied, you have received a minimum of 70 other applications. He gave the example, Bishop Stewart University. You've got from Bishop Stewart, from Makerere, from KIU, from Mukono, all of them are piled up. They all want the same job. So that means you can't take everybody. Even if you decided to say, I want to take these ones, then you have parents who are calling you and saying, just take the person. You don't have to pay them. They just want to get some experience. So you have a choice between, I take this one who I have to pay, I take the one who I don't have to pay immediately. Then you've got those parents who come and are more enterprising. They actually say, no, pay him 500,000, but I'll actually pay you the 500,000 to pay him. Because if you say, I can't afford to take this extra person, I don't have the space, they'll say, no, but he needs to have somewhere to work. So you're facing that reality in the market. If you're a young lawyer, and I think this message is more to the parents of the young lawyers, when we were younger, our law degree was 3 years. I think now the university, is it 4 years? And then you had 1 year of LDC? Okay, so now here, let me first tell you the truth. The law degree is actually 7 years. The first 2 years when you're in practice are part of your law degree. Because from an employer's perspective, in those first 2 years, you are not yet bringing in clients. You are not yet doing work which the clients will pay a lot of money for. And most of the time, the employer is actually teaching you what you are learning. So from an employer's perspective, at the start, you're actually just still being taught. Now, how many of you, when you were at the university and you were studying, were being paid to go to class? Didn't the universities require you to pay to study?
Yes,
Doesn't LDC require you to pay when you are there?
exactly.
So technically, if you have 2 more years of study, if you chose to do a master's, wouldn't you have to pay for it?
Exactly.
So if you come and for the first 2 years, I am teaching you what it takes, and you've seen there's a world of difference between practice and LDC and university. shouldn't you actually be paying for that? Remember, I said I'm going to give you the difficult questions. I'm giving you the viewpoint from the other side. Somebody is saying, when you come to the office, I have to find you a computer, I have to find you a place to eat, I have to find the food, I have to find that transport. All of that, when you're at the university, you never ask the lecturers for that. But now you're asking these people. After you've worked 1 or 2 years, then let me make it easier. Mr. Wambi, how much money would you want to be paid if you were starting to work, for example? How much should a lawyer who is starting work be paid?
Mr. Sim, you're putting my panelist on a spot. Let me do the questioning.
The reason I'm saying that is, suppose you say, let me pick a figure. You say, I want to be paid 5 million shillings. I want to be paid 10 million shillings so I can pay the rent and I can deal with all of that. The question the employer will ask, if you want me to pay 5 million shillings to you or 10 million, have you got the clients or the who are willing to pay that 5-10 million for me to give you? Otherwise, what you're saying is, the client who was giving me 5 million, which I was already paying the existing lawyers, I should take it from those ones and give it to you. Would that be fair on the people who are already in the office? So, I want you to think about it that way. Then, earlier, you remember Mariam was here and I put her on the spot when I was saying, okay, clients, why aren't you paying what you should be paying? And what did she tell you? Well, you have to be adjustable, etc. The truth is, who are the clients who are supposed to be paying? Uganda has 2 telecom companies, maybe 20 banks. All of them are already spoken for. And all those banks are reducing the fees they pay. So if the clients are reducing how much they pay, how easy will it be for the lawyers to increase what they pay the younger lawyers? So I've taken you through this whole exercise so that as a young lawyer, you understand that when you join a law firm and you expect that in the first or second year, you should be earning as much as people who have been working for longer, that is an unrealistic expectation.
Mr. Sim, let me just chip in here. Kindly, I want you to look at the shoe of Mr. John Musime, yes, the suit he's putting on. I think he has an iPhone 15. And I want to pose this question to him. Is it so cruel or evil to pay a young lawyer enough for him to buy the same phone that you have?
Thank you very much, Josh. I would like to start here, but by suggesting that we need to reframe this conversation away from us against them. And I'd like to hopefully persuade you why this is not a good frame for us to have this conversation. Because it presupposes that we have something of senior lawyers against young lawyers. Here, why is that frame is not just only not logical, but also not sustainable. One, we were young lawyers before, we are senior lawyers now. And it also follows that the people who are young lawyers today will be the senior lawyers tomorrow. Secondly, it's within the nature. There's a Luganda saying, which I'll loosely translate, that the strength of a forest lies in the young trees. So it is counterproductive. Maybe let me just add another perspective, is that we have children who are aspiring to be lawyers. We have people we are paying school fees for to be lawyers. So for the supposition that somehow we sit, Sim and I meet, unlike Sim, who is about 25 years, I've been doing this maybe 16 years, that somehow we sit and say, exactly how can we be very unfair to young lawyers? It's without basis. It doesn't make any sense at all. So that's a frame we need to. It's very entertaining. I keep telling my friends like Tony, who are on X, it's entertaining, this war, us against them. It's like a boxing match in the red corner. First, it's just not true. That's point number one. Point number two is when I was speaking to my good colleagues from my friends from KAA, I was telling them about some of the foundational texts that you read when you're in law school. And one of those is a book called Foundations of Legal Systems in East Africa by Like. I can see one of my mentors, Mr. Tibaijuka Ateni, is here. Precisely the point that we like to make from understanding is the perspective with which you practice law. It's not just about section D says that, but there's a sense of the political economy. Those of us who follow football, there's something, for example, they call positional awareness. The idea being that if you're a footballer, you must have some kind of innate sense to know where you are when you receive the ball, are we under attack, and all of that. So it's important that for you to practice as a lawyer, you have the positional sense of where we stand as a profession. Number one, Joshua, what is the size of our economy? I can tell you, and you have read, in case the latest public article that I might want to refer to you to is the one that Andrew Mwenda most recently wrote in The Independent. The entire economy of Uganda is essentially around Kampala, Wakiso, and Mpigi. And in East Africa, the only economies we are bigger than is perhaps maybe Rwanda, Burundi. Simi has been telling you, we have 2 telecom companies. So what we are discussing is not necessarily a problem that is unique to the legal profession. It is a huge unemployment problem. Our colleagues in the medical world, I think what they're dealing with now is interns not being deployed. This problem of massive number of youth not being employed is not unique to us. So going back to the context of within which the law plays, you must understand that what we are dealing with is an economic, political, socio-political economy problem. That's number one. Number two, I would expect that as a lawyer, as a very bare minimum, at least those of us who spent all our professional careers in private practice, is that I expect, lawyers, again, if you go back to who is a lawyer, what does it mean for you to be in a society? What does it mean, how do you contribute? We expect that by the time you've left LDC or even just graduated law school, you have the positional awareness to understand, for example, the money cycle of a law firm. One of the things I would like to suggest to our younger colleagues is that this is not rocket science. Money is not a pre-existing thing like oxygen, okay? That money simply has to be earned. And the way law firms make money is not magical. It simply means you go out there, you get work, you bill, you do it, and collect it. So, and having said is that it doesn't make any sense for us to be either sadistic or ununderstanding of the challenges that our young brothers, for whom we pay fees and what, I have children right now, I have many relatives. I'm sorry to say this, but we have relatives. It's an African thing. You have relatives in law school everywhere. Every time there's bills to be paid, okay? And we are thinking about them. But we really expect that you understand where the money comes from. Now, there's some, what I call, and I'm trying to be, not to be understood as unkind. Us on X, me and Tony, it works on violence, you have to pick the other guy. That frame is not helpful. So I'm not being mean by telling you is that there's some basics there's some ideologies that are not correct, if you bear with me, Joshua. One, the thinking that there must be guaranteed equal outcomes is wrong. The only position can be equal opportunities. I have never, when I started out, actually one of the first big cases I did, Sim was on the other side. And by the way, he has been very helpful to me. He told me many things that I did not start out by fighting him, or I simply walked to him, Sim, how do you do this? Some people are very generous, number one. So what you look for is equal opportunities. So to bring this to context, to get it from that abstract illustration, is that it is concerning for me, for a person to walk in and say, before I do anything, just because I have a law degree, I'm entitled to 3 million. I think I must be, between being falsely kind and honest, I must choose to be honest and tell you that the truth of the matter is that everyone's law degree entitles them to 0. I think that the world owes none of us anything. Everything you have, you must earn yourself. And I'm not able to tell Mr. Wambi that, because like my father sold a piece of land, I have a degree, therefore because I have the degree, I'm sorry to tell you that that's not how I get the money from MTN. So you must put something in before you get something out. And one of my personal, motivational speakers, Mr. Zig Ziglar, the late, used to say, there's something called stinking thinking. The idea that, lawyers, what will doctors say? They save lives. So we need to think right. We need to size the problem and understand what the solutions are. What are the solutions? One, in terms of numerical ratios, I'm not one of those think that we'd already have many lawyers. If you're simply going to say, I take the number of lawyers we have and divide them by the total populations. The issue is in the economy. It's about creative, and I want to mention some few names just out of me that if you're on X and you follow Silva Kayondo, please try to follow him. He talks about understanding the context of the economy we are working in. So rather than, for example, presume a pre-existent client that you're going to bill, you might want to think of creating the work. And I'm not encouraging ambulance chasing, but, you look at the problems we have if you understand the social function of the laws. Take, for example, Chitezi. Do I have to tell you that there's opportunity for cases there? Or are you want to have the conversation of, Mr. Aten, you must pay me 5 million because I'm very important? What is more constructive? Do you want me to tell you, the question is, where are the opportunities? For example, if there's no industry in Masindi, it appears that the call for the new lawyer is to participate with people writing grants so that you bring a factory to Masindi, then you lawyer it. Rather than the mindset of thinking, MTN doesn't, we need to wake up and see the problem we have. We haven't even talked about AI. Forget about, Mr. Sim Katende is not employing enough of us. But Mr. Katende's own job is already eaten by AI. So, do I want you to have, and I'm closing with this, Josh, do I want you to have a shoe like this? Even better. Because for progress, you see every coming generation must be better than the next. That's why at a level, it's even insulting for us to imagine that we want to be the best there ever was. What will happen to our country? We want you guys to be better than us. Otherwise, the Kenyans will eat you. We don't have any other people. You are the ones we have. Okay? So to even imagine we don't want you to go ahead, that does not work. But if we are to have the confidence that this society, the young lawyers, are going to be taking it ahead, rather than this entertainment, violence thing, we are expected to have silos of new lawyers in Jinja to say, Jinja is a tourism city. How do we harness this potential for lawyers? But if we are in this other level of conversation, I'm sorry that South Africans, Kenyans are going to eat us for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm worried in the room I see the senior lawyers are noting down. Well, yet I would have expected the young ones. I don't know where the debate is falling, but I'll delve into with Mr. Tone. Mr. Tone, you had a conference. You had a press conference recently, and you said senior lawyers are sexually harassing the young lawyers. We had a session of Senior Counsel Ruth Sebutindire. She talked about reputational. You remember? She talked about the reputational risk that her name is up there. She retains MTN, Total, and other companies. But because she underpaid some young lawyer back in the days, it is coming up on Twitter, reputational damage. You're saying senior lawyers are abusing and sexually harassing them. They are here, all eyes on you. Where are the numbers? We need to know. What have you found? What do you know? Do we have the evidence or we do not have it? I think you can let us know.
Thank you so much, Owek. I think before I adumbrate into the issue that you have asked, when you enter through this door, ULS and whichever organizer of this event has put a blue poster, banner on that door. Read it aloud for the people that are attending here, if you're critical of all the posters in here.
The blue one says that I think organize young YOLO farm and make more money.
Yeah. The problem here is not a war against senior colleagues vis-a-vis junior colleagues. If you follow what you've put up there, organize your law firm and make more money. The word organize details in a lot of things. It goes to not a lot of payment, not a big pay, not an incentivized pay.
What the young lawyers are saying, if you decide to give him 500, and these are real things, and I don't want to be whimmy when I'm speaking about these things, I need to be as reasonable as possible. The law firms here are paying 300, which is okay. The law firms here are paying 400, which is okay. These are principles of contract. Somebody walks in your office, you tell them, you know what, I will pay you 400. Are they certain that on the 31st of each month, they will get the 300 you have promised them? No lawyer in any of our conferences, in any of our tweets, has asserted and juxtaposed that they want 3 million, they want 2 million, they want 1 million. If you've heard that, in fact, I have 1 million here. I can give it to you if you show it to me.
Guys,
What the lawyers are
have
saying,
you heard that?
listen, what the young lawyers are saying, you promise us the least you can give us. Give us a contract so that we are certain. Walk through Tinder where I work. If you want to make a survey, how many people have put the young lawyers on contract? And you see, a contract does not only go to a pay. A contract goes to rights like maternity. Are these sisters of yours sure that if they give birth and go back home for 30, 45 days, they will find the work? 60 days, they will find the work? That is what the lawyers are saying. Are these sisters of yours and brothers sure that if I am feeling sick and I ask for a sick leave, will I come back and find my desk? That is what the young lawyers are saying. These young people are saying, if I am a father and my girlfriend, my wife, my spouse has given birth and I leave this law firm, will I find my job still secured? That is the importance of contract. No lawyer has dictated on the pay, and no one can dictate. You state that I asserted in a press conference that people are sexually harassed. That statement of yours is adulterated. I want to tell you, I never stated that. I never stated that. I'm very clear and open in all my tweets. The lady that stated that said most of the young ladies are sexually harassed. Are there records? Sexual harassment is like sorcery and witchcraft. No one can come out and say, I was sexually harassed. Even me sitting here, I cannot come out and say, I'm a sexual harasser. No. But it doesn't mean that these things don't happen. If they happen in one law firm, we are saying, can we have zero tolerance? If there are two law firms that are not paying, can we say there is zero tolerance? What the young lawyers are saying, I can give you a part of this event. The young lawyers are saying, we are not being paid. You want to give us 300, but your event is at 300. You want to take over my salary. Can you at least say, okay, all the young lawyers, you will not have probably lunch at Victoria Hall. Can you pay 50,000 for the evening session and come and attend? This hall would be full. And I want to assure you that if you said every young lawyer come from 3 to 5 and pay 50,000 for the ULS and get the 10 points. The young lawyers are saying, you people that are not paying us, you are putting us the same level of points. A person who practiced for 20 years is having 20 points. And also a young lawyer, you are not paying, non-contracted, you want him to have 20 points of CLE. And you guys don't want to hear this, you want to take tea and chocolate. Thank you.
Pump your brakes, pump your brakes. I see young lawyers are now clapping. We can, but let me first draw back. Counsel John Musime said that the young lawyers do not understand the economy, that they are in a position where they want to seek for more, but they give none. No. Given that...
Josh, for the record, that's not what I said.
For the record, I was correcting before they interrupted.
Thank you, that's not what I said. I said it is important that we understand the context in which the law operates.
understanding the context of the economy.
Yeah, so I did not say insinuate or suggest that they do not.
I like that all the senior lawyers want to be straight on the record. I think it is important.
Tony also corrected the record. It's just good manners to be truthful.
Yes, it is very good manners. So our session is on YouTube, and it is all the young lawyers are really enjoying it. I'll jump into, before I come to you, Mr. Wambi. We have the former CEO of the Uganda Law Society, currently serving as the honorable at the court at the leadership court tribunal, and she served as the CEO of the Uganda Law Society. Ma'am, before you are here, Mr. Wambi, the gentleman right next to you, he said that the biggest problem now is the Uganda Law Society. The Uganda Law Society is the organizer of this event, and the Uganda Law Society has failed. At the climax of Mr. Tony, he said that you are billing the young lawyers the same fee for CLE points, a small subsidy.
Same CLE points.
Same CLE points at 20 for them to qualify for a High Court PC. And then Mr. Wambi said that the fee of the practicing certificate, we pay 500 plus the benevolent fund and the construction fee. It is standard for young lawyers as long as you are within the age gap of 5 years. And he says that those are very big problems. You as the former CEO, why don't you shed and give us some context on that conversation?
Thank you very much.
Please, media, Just a reminder, our session is on YouTube. It was the wisdom of the Uganda Law Society that this particular session is streamed live.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Just for clarity, I've been in practice for the last 23 years, and I happen to have passed through all the different legal spaces. I began in a law firm as a legal assistant. I subsequently joined LDC as a lecturer for about, 8 to 9 years. And then I started my law firm, dived into law council as a member on the disciplinary committee, then later CEO for 2.5 years. And now I've been at the tribunal for 4 years working in government. But one thing I have to say clearly from the different conversations I've had, ULS is not the problem, and ULS has never been a problem. I'm speaking as a former CEO of ULS and a senior member of the bar. ULS is not the problem. One thing I have to tell young lawyers, I remember when I started as a legal assistant so many years ago, of course I wasn't earning so well. It was meager pay. But one thing that has kept me going is always looking beyond your situation and circumstances and focusing on value addition. You have to work to get somewhere. Some of us come from very humble backgrounds, and we've gone up there because we don't focus on the money. We focus on how we can become more skilled, more retooled, more valuable, and also work on our different ethics fiber. So the issue of saying ULS is just a blame game. I remember when I was a CEO, the same reasons came out, the same issues that my colleagues are raising, the young lawyers. Poor pay, the challenges of us not being considered. I want to implore the young lawyers to enjoy the process. Enjoy that process. You begin little. Of course, you may expect to earn 5, 10 M, but you cannot earn something that someone has been earning who has been in practice for 15 years. Then there's that other aspect of harassment. Let me tell you, harassment in the legal profession is two-way. I was more harassed by young lawyers than actually senior lawyers. There are groups like Advocate 1, 2, 3. I remember when I used to be on those groups with President Chinobe, I exited because I couldn't stand the toxicity. Young lawyers could sleep up to 3 saying the CEO is a thief, the CEO has become fat because of her, he's on social media, the president is a thug. No, I don't think they're senior lawyers because I'm still part of the groups. What I want to tell lawyers, focus on building your value, focus on making yourself a person of purpose.
CEO.
Money follows purpose and value. Joshua, let me emphasize this point. because you've allowed me to speak. So the issue of harassment, it's two-pronged. I don't recall, by the way, senior lawyers harassing me, but I could wake up when someone has sent out a WhatsApp message attacking me. Learn how to use the right communication model. These days I tell young lawyers, be strategic. On a WhatsApp group, you can build a brand you cannot fight in the profession. People can know you as a worst abuser, and yet there are jobs that are coming up, and yet you're skilled. So work on your brand, be calm, take it slow, focus on your purpose. The more you have value, the more people will look to pay you more money. Okay? One time, when I started motivation, let me share something. People harassed me, and they were young lawyers. I started motivation about 10 years ago. So someone posted, a young lawyer, the CEO is busy in motivation, using our money. Guys, I focused on motivation. Now I'm paid in dollars to motivate for only 1 hour. So you work on what you can do best. Expand your horizon. If you feel the law firm is not working, I had a law firm, I felt I wasn't working better there. I decided to go back in recruitment. Build your brand. I'm the first CEO to be on law council, the regulator, and also be under ULS. Why? I used to be very good at writing my judgments. I used to deliver the rulings through our chairperson, Mr. Bruce Cherere. Then I was committed. It wasn't about money. Law council doesn't pay. And I think President Owundo can assure you that. But I focused on value. What are you building? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want people to talk about? So I implore young lawyers, today's session, build a positive attitude. Look up. Look beyond your circumstances. You'll never get the same pay. Another thing I've noticed, young lawyers sometimes are so greedy. A lawyer wants to drive an ML that a senior lawyer has driven for the last 10 years. Come on. You can't. I started using border borders. I went on a FX, those FX of those days. I went to a Chikumi. Now I'm driving my own car. Forget the car that I have of government, which is of value. So let us learn not to be greedy. Let us be slow. Let us not rush. Utilize everyone. ULS is a powerful brand. Let me tell you, friends, ULS has pushed me more than even my current job where I work. Why? I remained on all the platforms of the regional bars, SADC, ELS, the ones in Canada. Work in don't fight ULS. You can never win ULS because it's historical. Work in it in an ethical, morally upright way. And as I conclude, you mentioned something on harassment. Guys, harassment is existing. I don't want us to wish-wash it. Girls are being harassed in law firms, in different legal spaces. You know, because I'm the president of FLN, people tell me. A young girl told me that when she had just joined the law firm, the partner realized she knows how to drive. So the guy tells her, drive me. Every time the guy is changing the gear near her thighs like this, they're going to court. Others travel with young female lawyers up country and they book in one room. Okay? What I tell the young female lawyers, don't be desperate. Learn to say no, okay? Life is beyond sex, really. You can climb up the ladders without red carpet politics. So let us be mindful of the harassment. For the male lawyers that are harassing girls, please stop, because we are empowering them to say no and to report you. And also for the girls that are enticing the senior lawyers, because even the young girls entice the senior lawyers. They're always in, the cleavage is out. They're always doing seductive moves. They're always volunteering wrong late night meetings to discuss their legal opinions. Please, if you're a young girl and you want to be harassed, stop. You can climb the ladders like us without being harassed and learn to say no, and let us focus on our value. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. But just for context, Honorable, I want this to be on record. Young lawyers have never sexually harassed you, right?
No, I didn't say sexual harassment. I said harassment is a dimensional aspect. You can be harassed on social media. You can be harassed sexually. You can be harassed through... so for me, it was purely about harassment on social media. I had to exit those groups. I don't know if they still exist, because the harassment was too much. And sometimes my president would call me and say, "Nalunge chintu chitabuse, obwana butuvuma." And I could say,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable. I see Mr. John Musime is burning for something here. You
Josh,
could, I'll give you a
I was-
second.
yes, I was just hoping this is parliament. You know, when you want to, in parliamentary practice, if you want to interrupt the guy, you pretend you want to give them information and say, Mr. Speaker, point of information. So one of our colleagues who heads URSB, what's her name? Because this happened on
Mercy.
Twitter. Yeah?
Mercy.
Mercy. You can go and check it out on Twitter unless you deleted it. There was a young man who was busy commenting on her curves, on her what, and then he wanted, a young person. Again, that goes back, because you're saying, do young people harass elders? Just check it out. Ask her, I'm saying it on record. You go and ask her. This young man began by saying how, slightly older woman, manya what, and all of that. Look, first and foremost, this is a serious point. We have people who are sexually harassed. That is why I'm not excited to make it a generational war. Because, you have all the requirements to sexually harass as it is. It's not age-based. So even the idea that it is an older people against younger people is not correct. I went to law school. We had students who are harassing teachers as well. So I think that, one, we have to be clear by saying it's a complex issue. There's ethical issues. I think there's a place for Uganda Law Society to take a stand. It helps. If, for example, we designed a policy for all law firms to sign up and say, we are against sexual harassment, there's value in saying that. There's opportunities for Law Society, Law Council to expand the checkpoints for approval of law chambers, to move from the physical examination, do you have books, do you what? The things we're talking about, contracts. Can we see your contracts? Can we see your anti-sexual harassment policy? All of those things. And Law Council needs to make them a requirement. But lastly said, one, I want again to continue to dissuade us from the idea of framing this as a generational issue. And there's another point, because when you say sexual harassment, it's entertaining, people weaponize it. There are people who are looking to mobilize people. Those senior lawyers are what? There's also other facts. One, it's as if to say that men are not harassed. If our our lady colleagues choose to do what she was calling red carpet politics or becoming mattress actresses, how fair is that to the young people who do not have the capacity to offer the same favors? It feels very bad to be passed over because your female colleague was flexing her sexual appeal that you can. The second thing also is that it's like this sex for marks thing that is very bad and what. If we are going to have an honest conversation, can we also agree that for one reason or another, first and foremost, even ladies in our society, whatever happens, people like to marry older people, etc. It could also be that you have senior lawyers who are suffering with people throwing themselves at them. So let's have an honest conversation and decide whether this is going to be about law or sexual politics.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me just go to Wambi. Wambi, I just want you to tell us, okay? You, the young gentlemen and ladies, you want jobs from these firms, but you have been making noise and saying the firms do not pay you. You've put it on Twitter and Facebook. These same people are reading. Why would they give you an opportunity to come to their firm?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Following the earlier presentations of my co-panelists, they have clearly stated all the avenues of exploitation and excuses. That rent payment, training on job for 2 years, or teaching. The teaching of a young lawyer basically stops at LDC and enrollment and grant of practicing certificate. Most of the donkey work done at law firms is basically by young lawyers. Drafting, filing. But on drafting, the supplementary bit they add is the grammar of King James's version. Thereof, thy, thee, do. At the preliminary point of issuing instructions to a law firm, young lawyers are shunned away in the secretive meetings. But at the time of doing work, they are fully engaged. At the time of facilitation, the conversation, it is pro bono. But at the time of engagement of a conversation with the client at filing time or other subsequent works, clients open up, say, I gave that senior lawyer 30 million. But the younger lawyer is not seeing the value of 30 million on the matter he's handling, except peanuts. So these are very critical, urgent things which needs intervention for the welfare of a young lawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Wambi. I get you, and I hear you. I hear you very well. As a senior partner with Katende Sempebwa, I think, Mr. Sim, this is a good opportunity that you get. I've been to your office. Your office it has got stairs, one floor to another. The young lawyer is saying that when it is time to discuss, to get work, you'll call them. When it is pay time, you lock your upstairs offices. Please tell us, is that the conversation now?
Thank you. I think you've noticed that while all these very lively debates have been going on, I've been sitting here very calmly. I think first there's a difference. And I think all of the lawyers who are here can make a call. If Mr. Wambi, speaking exactly as he did, came to apply for a job in your firm, would you hire him?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I'm just saying, I want you to think very carefully. Remember, I said that the reason I came here was to tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. Not what you want to hear. So, there's been talk about harassment and people not being paid on time, etc. I agree entirely. If you made a commitment to pay somebody a certain amount of money, please make sure you pay it. We've had a firm this is our 55th year. And there is no single month in the 55 years that nobody has received the salary he was promised. For 55 years. That is not an easy feat. That is not an easy feat. And there is nobody who has ever come and said, Sim harassed me or Sim threatened, or any of our lawyers went and did that. Again, that's not an easy feat because of all of these stories you're hearing. So you have to ask yourself, if we have found a way for it to work, shouldn't you also be listening and saying, what is it that they are doing that probably works? This gentleman has said, oh, there is a client who has come and has given 30 million and we are seeing peanuts. First, that is not true. But let's just go with his example. When a client says they have paid you 30 million shillings, if you are an associate, you do not have to look at any of the overheads the firm has. So you have not taken into account that office you talked about, Joshua, somebody has to pay for it. That desk you're using, somebody had to pay for it. The power, water, somebody had to do it. There is also a belief when you're a young lawyer that your drafting is what brought that 30 million.
I see senior lawyers tend to agree.
That naivety of believing that, I reviewed and I did a first draft is the reason the client paid that money is why you need to go in a law firm and learn the difference between academia and what works in the field. The reason the clients pay that 30 million, which you're talking about, is one, they probably want that senior lawyer handling that matter. I do not know of clients who have ever come and said, this lawyer who has come out of law school, he has come to my office, I have decided to pay him 30 million. They pay 30 million because you've worked for 15 years and they believe the judgment you're giving them is getting them 15 years experience. So obviously, when you're talking to the young lawyers, you're always encouraging them, telling them this is the work you're going to do. But they ought to be smart enough to know that. I gave the example of the two telecom companies. Mariam was here from Total. Many of you were present. What did she say? When Total is going to hire and they're going to do food security, they will say, we want lawyers who can show specialization, who can show expertise, who can show all of that. What does that tell you? They're not going to pay 30 million when you give them a lawyer who is 1 year out of law school. They're going to pay the 30 million for the person who has worked 5, 10, 15 years. So, if you want to earn the 30 million, your best bet, and I think that is why we're supposed to be having this discussion, is to say, how can I be the lawyer who the client is willing to pay 30 million for? And all we are saying is, to get to that stage, you need to first take the first couple of years learning. Once you've spent the first 2 years, you will then have an idea. People were here talking about specialization. I don't believe any young lawyer should specialize. You cannot know in year one what you intend to do. If I took a poll here, very few of you are going to marry your first girlfriend or your first boyfriend. It's after you've got some experience that you will know what you actually want and make that decision. So if you've just left law school and you actually expect, I'll give you a very unusual example. If you go to the UK, which has been doing law longer than we have, when you're doing pupillage, you actually pay the law firms. When you're doing that solicitor course, you actually pay the law firms. Ugandan law firms don't. So my view is the discussion for the young lawyers should not be, why am I not being paid this much money at the start? And it's a good thing Tony clarified it. He said, the issue is not, why are you being paid little? The issue is, if you committed to pay me 500,000 or 1 million, why don't you pay me that money at the end of the month? And for that one, I agree. You should hold the law firms accountable. Because if the law firm makes that promise, it needs to live up to it. But expecting them to say, I will pay you more money than they are committing to, that's where it is wrong.
Yes,
Joshua,
Mr. Sim, for just a second, I'll add you just 50 seconds.
Yes.
I think it was Albert Einstein that said that in the middle of difficulty lies an opportunity. I just want you to tackle this question in just 1 second.
Yeah.
How can young lawyers effectively navigate the challenges of unemployment and underemployment in the current legal market?
It's very simple. I think that's where our discussion should be. So I will take a minute on this. There is a big misconception that everybody who does law has to end up in a law firm. As long as you believe that I'm going to end up in a law firm, all 2,000 who graduate every year, no law firms will absorb all of you. Either you're all going to start law firms or there's not enough space. The best solution to say is, if I have a law degree, some people are going to become law practitioners, others are going to veer into other fields. The minute you stop focusing on only law firms, you will see 15 other opportunities where your talents may arise. If you want to work in a law firm, then you need to study the law firm system and be willing, for lack of a better way to put it, to adjust to that. If the law firms tell you in the first 2 years they're going to pay you little, and from year 3 you'll make more money, that's a decision you make. If you want to be paid a high salary immediately, maybe government is a better payer than that. Maybe a particular NGO may be a better one. Maybe using your legal skills. Lawyers are very persuasive. I know an architect who started a church called Worship Harvest. Now, he's not designing buildings, but you're all going to Apostle Mukisa and what? He switched. So sometimes you use your skill and what you learned, which is a good base, into something else which may generate you a lot more revenue. So all I'm saying is, tackling unemployment, understand that because of our economy, no law firms will absorb all the law graduates. Look at opportunities beyond the law firms, but if you choose to go for a law firm, be prepared that for the first 2 years of your legal career, when you're still learning, you will not make a lot of money. Afterwards, if you're good, you will then be able to make a lot more.
Thank you so much. For the young lawyers, you need to look at the different opportunities that are available. I personally know one opportunity that is available. The Uganda Law Society elections are coming up. I don't know if you qualify, but that would be an opportunity for you. I'll go to Mr. Tumukunde. Mr. Wambi says learning should stop at LDC. The moment LDC is done, payment should start. But immediately after LDC, can you register a company? Can you transfer land? What can you do? When should payment start? When should learning stop?
I hate the analogy of somebody brings an idea and you think he's an enemy. I have a kid that goes to an international school.
You can use.
I hate the analogy of lawyers in their nobility thinking that if somebody raises an idea to you, you are hated. I have a child that goes to an international school. Actually, there are two. I never went to any. The way they are taught is different. If they sit me down and tell me, Daddy, today I'm not happy with what you're doing, it doesn't mean they have a fight with me. So we have no problem whatsoever with ULS. We are advocating for ways how senior lawyers, how even junior lawyers, the things, colleagues, I'm telling you have worked for me. I have 10 advocates, those that have visited me. No one can say I do not pay them, either allowances, either their commissions, either their salaries, anything. So the things have worked. It is the willingness and the desire. If you have that, if you say that you are paying bills, bills are paid by everyone, even that young lawyer that needs 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 to move in a taxi. If you are saying that all these reasons were raised when we were leaders in ULS, it means it's time for solutions. If you do not actually look at them, they will always be raised. So if everyone brings this up, are they hating on you? If you say build a legacy, we are building a legacy, but the best legacy as a boss is to show these people that you can pay so that they also learn how to pay, is to show these people that you can, in fact, the Employment Act under Section 46, I think, timely wages. It even adds for you the word timely. So that is the best legacy you can build. Are you fighting ULS? Are you fighting anyone? I, for one, am on record. I've not fought anyone. The people that have come to my chambers, I succinctly tell them and vividly assert to them, I'm not fighting anyone. I'm telling them the things I can do. Josh, I would be open to you. I am living a decent life. Why would I mind? I drive a good car, 1 or 2 or 3. I have a good team, but building my legacy is to hold one another. Triamsima usually sees me coming with a young team of lawyers, 2 years practice. I tell them, if we win this case, you have a commission, because it's in their contract. I tell them, if I'm sending you to court, I'm giving you this allowance, because I have promised them, and they have worked with me for over 4 years. Those that have come to my parking lot, I started with no one. In fact, it's only me that had a car. My parking lot, all people have cars. It doesn't mean I paid them millions. No. People have told me, we visit him and see whether he pays millions. But if I win a billion case, and I decide that the associates that have worked on this case must be paid, they will be faithfully, fervently paid. So the fight of decisions, the fight of fighting ULS is fanciful. It's a fanciful theory. It doesn't actually exist. Then unemployment. The young lawyers are telling you that this unemployment is not the problem of senior lawyers. This is procedure. This is structural. If the lawyers are telling you that we are out of the analog system, if you need a year as law counsel to carry a file, I have just finished LDC, but it takes me a year to just put a full stop before I can enroll. The young people are telling you, please give us a digital platform. Digital platforms will not fail you if you have not put a full stop. If LDC is graduating someone, I usually see a certificate saying fit and proper to become an advocate. The people are saying, if at all we can enroll with our certificates of eligibility. So this causes the unemployment gap. It is not the problem with our senior colleagues. It is within the law. Yesterday we were having meetings, and I was giving the chief registrar an example. I told them we are still in the 70s. It needs somebody to travel from Gulu to come and rectify a mistake in an affidavit, to come and renew a PC, to leave US and follow up their issues with law counsel, with ULS is okay now, with law counsel, with the chief registrar, can we have e-certificates? If I have an e-certificate and LDC has passed me, ULS has given me the points, I am in Imbarara, tell me, pick your certificate from the register of Imbarara. If you delay that, you're widening the unemployment gap. And not only the unemployment gap, but the indiscipline in the profession. Then, for me, I will tell you, the poor remuneration, because my brother speaks about leaving LDC. Colleagues, there is no better legacy, whether you like it. In fact, Joyce brings it out better. Sexual harassment is in various forms. Joyce, I want to tell you that the worst harassment is financial harassment, because financial harassment can take somebody into mental depression. If you harass these people by not paying them any coin, for you to say that I'm being out of nobility to tell people that pay, in fact, it is better nobility to encourage people to pay. If Law Council and ULS came out with a position that, please, if you do not have contracts with these people, at whatever amount, we shall not approve you, it would be okay. Lastly, the unemployment also comes from the unwillingness of the senior colleagues probably to employ the young lawyers and give them clerkship and internship. Again, where should the child, to whom should the child cry? I think to the father or to the mother. That is ULS. So for me, for you to assert that there is a fight between the young lawyers and ULS and the senior lawyers, I would say is conjunctful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are running in the election period of the Uganda Law Society. For those that will be standing, the first question we ask you, are you paying the young lawyers? I'll run direct to Honorable Joyce Nalunga. I think it was Martin Luther King said that the time is always right to do what is right. My question is, how can young lawyers build a career? I think the buffer is that side. My question is that how can young lawyers build a career that is not only successful, but also ethically grounded, especially in a legal landscape where ethical dilemmas are increasingly common?
Thank you so much, Joshua. I just want to thank my colleagues for the different perspectives. But I wanted to say something before I dive into how young lawyers should build an ethically high, moral fiber. Uganda has 1,171 law firms and 55 legal departments. I want you to remember we are now 6,000 plus advocates, members of ULS. When I was still a CEO, about 3,000. Now, this is my observation when I was a CEO, which I want us to understand. Of course, I agree entirely with my colleague, Tony, and I'm a very strong supporter of young lawyers, and I mentor them and motivate them. But this is what I discovered when I was a CEO, which is a reality check. There are very few law firms that are financially stable. Very few. If you're to actually categorize them in percentage, out of those 1,171, it may be like about 5%. The rest, those law firms you see, Amber House, the law firms in Mabirizi Plaza, the majority of the law firms are mediocre firms. Let's be realistic. Those law firms, I'm telling you the truth. Those law firms cannot survive on their own properly, so they cannot even do contracts for the legal assistants. So we need to cut the cloth depending on the material. There are things we can expect some law firms to do, they can't do. Of course, Tony's firm is stable. Firms that are stable have retainers. They know that monthly, over $10,000 are coming in. But if a law firm is surviving on a caveat, registration of a company, which URSP has taken, surely how will it do a contract with a lawyer? Or it is waiting for Chibanja Holder to come from Nakaseke and sue the RP. So I want the young lawyers to have a reality check. For me, I started working in Bushenyi, in the law firm of the late Tumwesiji. The guy was paying me very little money, but what I did, the guy was the most brilliant lawyer in Bushenyi then. I capitalized on his drafting skills. I started drafting. Sometimes they could bring in a lot of money. He could still pay me little. What I want the young lawyers to know, especially my colleague Wambi, let us see is that that entitlement mentality. Some of us parents are seeing it in our kids. You know, we have adult kids. They're entitled. A kid wants every benefit you have for them. You're having an iPhone 15, he wants to have an iPhone. You buy him a Techno, wants to box you. So let us be realistic. Let us understand, because the truth is, Sim has asked a very good question, that if Wambi comes to Milo Farm and demands all those things, I don't want you to do excuses, I don't want this, I cannot employ Wambi. But if a lawyer comes and is delivering, I'll even give him a slot of a partnership. I know so many lawyers who started on peanuts, but because of the value they're bringing in the law firm, they're given the partnership slot. And I know people can agree with me. So, in summary, young lawyers, let us not do excuses. Try and work in the difficult times. The impression most lawyers give out is not the actual impression. When I was a CEO, we could go for burials of lawyers when they don't even have a will, there are no property, there are no assets. People don't give all that information. Tumukunde has a very good point. Young lawyers to come to Munyonyo for 50K. Guys, tea at Munyonyo is 125. So if we are not to use Munyonyo, we would go maybe to Hotel Africana or any other hotel. But the other lawyers will complain. You've taken us in Juakali places. Lawyer Sata is eating our money. The president is doing... No, the issue is let us manage within the difficult times. Young lawyers, work as much as you can. Look, have a broad perspective of life. Look beyond the current problems. If our law firms don't work for you, work to join the legal departments. If they are not working, join academia. Okay, so that you have stability. Otherwise, if you expect contracts in a law firm on Mabilisi Plaza, you're not going to get it. You can only get it probably in Sim's, the law firm where Sim is. But yet you want a job. So that is my summary. Lastly, as I conclude, the best way we can work is to focus. I also want to emphasize that during my tenure as a CEO, we launched the anti-sexual harassment strategy for ULS. I think the next president should push the policy so that it is in place and it cuts across law firms. The young lawyers, have a good attitude. Build networks. Please, let me beseech you. Stop quarreling on WhatsApp groups. When people are employing, they look at WhatsApp groups. You may be the best abuser, the insulter, but you will never be recruited in a powerful position. Why? You're very antagonistic. Don't forget that social media is where people do your scouting before they employ you. If you have an issue, look for Mr. Wundo, go quarrel with him, assure him, then you come out and get a solution. But using those platforms to insult and abuse will only push you down the drain. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wambi, you've been at the receiving end. I'll give you an opportunity to simply respond in a minute. Before I come to Mr. John, I want to talk about financial stability.
Point of information.
Thank you.
On what Dr. Nalunga has stated, younger lawyers are the most disciplined people. They encounter a lot. Senior counsel, senior lawyers make ridiculous statements about them. This one was having 5 retakes at LODC. And moreover, before clients, that cannot build his integrity. This one sleeps in the bar. This one, he went into an illegal transaction. This one will not manage your case. When a young lawyer saws his case, senior lawyer will say, no, this one will not manage, going to spoil your case. He has never won any case. That will not build any confidence of the public into a young lawyer. When it comes to the issue of payment, payment is a very contentious issue. At the time of sharing money, young lawyers are not engaged. At the time of work, they are bombarded with everything and numerous calls. Why are you flambishing? Do you want to kill my law firm? Do you know the trust people have vested in me? But you're not saying that, this is the money for this work. So we call upon ULS to intervene for purposes of developing the careers of the young lawyers.
Thank you. If the president of the Uganda Law Society is still in the building, I think you get to agree that my brother has changed the narrative, that the ULS is no longer the problem. He has called the ULS for help. I think that's where the discussion is headed. I have the Western representative is burning for some information. Kindly, I request you to first hold on to it. Let me first get into this question with Mr. John. Someone shared with me that these very young lawyers that are not paid well, on Saturday and Sunday, you find them at Noni V. Do you know a bar called Noni V? Taking expensive whiskeys and driving in expensive cars, expensive Uber, and they have very nice phones. So the question is to Mr. John Musime. I think it was Warren Buffett that said that do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. But be mindful, young lawyers are paid $300,000, so I don't know what they are supposed to save. So the question is that the financial discipline is crucial for career success, especially in the early stages. What are the most common mistakes, financial mistakes, you see young lawyers make, and how can they avoid them? Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm very glad, especially for this kind of theme of conversation where we are looking at solutions. You see, there's that other part that is entertaining, but I have to say very, not kind of counterproductive, because we must agree that senior lawyers are not some kind of homogeneous entity that all of them behave. And when you look at the issue itself, you have collective guilt. Senior lawyers abuse. Senior lawyers don't pay. Meanwhile, all the young lawyers are also homogeneous. They are good, they are what, and then, so you see, the conversation is entertaining, but would not be very, very serious. The point we are making is, I don't want to go down the line of virtue signaling, of saying, now you take a firm like Katene, and maybe I have to say this, for us, maybe our generation, it's possible that we are I can appreciate that we are out of place. Because when you tell people things like honor, maybe that's a virtue that has run out of fashion. If it's about virtue signaling, forget about lawyers. Do you know how many law firms are out of cuts? Forget about I pay 10 and all of this. Me, I have to honor my former employers. They've taught me everything I know. KA, Bien Chakika. Do you know how many law firms they have made before you say you have 10 and all that? I have a staff count of 35. And I pay them on some of the people who make most noise on X. You ask them that, please show us the NSSF return of your employees. You ask them, most people who are, it's like tax. We should get to a level where for you to have a conversation, first show us your tax clearance. Then we shall know that we are having a serious conversation. So the point I'm making here is this. When we, for entertainment, reduce issues, for example, of contract, you're a lawyer. You are empowered. You signed a contract, you have to be paid. That's a matter for the labor court. And that's not to take away the place of the society taking a position, and we have correctly said. Most of the issues, if we are not being just entertaining about them, we take the points. First and foremost, we are grateful for the opportunity to always listen to the young people. It's a new generation, they know things we do not know. The points on online enrollment, I, for myself, do not see why, for example, you shouldn't. I happen to be part of a company that helps with automation of university processes. You should get your transcript on the day you graduate. Those are easy, they are not controversial, it's not entertaining, maybe that we are not in controversy over those. Those we should do right now. Now, let's talk about money, because it's really about the money. The frame I'm making, Josh, here is that unfortunately the information I'm going to give you might be old school. Because from what I'm hearing, even in the army, everybody enters the army as a private. I've never seen an army where everybody enters as a colonel. There's an artist called Bugembe, Wilson Bugembe. He has a song where he says that the only thing that starts up is a pit latrine. It must, in the natural order of things, you must start down. The frustration that we have is even when you tell people, because me, I told people, and I'm happy, I was very well paid. One of the best things that happened to me is my first job. The best, almost many things I have. I was paid 400,000, but I think when you talk to people who come from much richer background, they say, that was your time. You are glorifying suffering. I keep telling them that, well, I come from a middle-class family. I don't know if I was suffering or not, but it's just the nature of it. Even if your father is the president, like the CDF now, you still start down there. You must do the basic course. Now, talking about finances, and this is what I learned. I was very fortunate to learn is that, number one, we must learn as lawyers. Money is a whole branch of knowledge that most of our training doesn't teach us. It's about us looking out for that information and learning. There's many courses. Learn about money. so that you first and foremost know what you're talking about. I don't follow a lot of motivational speakers, and now that he's here, I'm remembering his sister. There's only one money financial speaker I listen to in town. He tells us many things. One of them is, and this is something I was fortunate to learn early, is that your employment is not the only source of income you should have. In fact, the healthiest thing is that your salary or earning from law is best whether it's 25% of what you earn or even lower. Sim sister teaches when you ask people, so what will I do? And there says there's a verse in the Bible that says that a person should have up to 6-7 streams of income. That does many things. One, it reduces your pressure and this unhealthy focus on saying I must get the money here. You start saying things that you're placing the horse before the cart. For you must be paid before you work. Your payments must be dependent on the problems you have. Clients don't pay us for that. They pay us for the value. So one way to ease all of this is to understand yourself as an economic unit. Is your day-to job the only way you can earn money? So that's one. There are many ways through your own talents. What else can you do? You're a fantastic MC. You are many things that you can actually do to, I think they call that diversifying your sources of income. Two, I think there's something called stinking thinking. If you don't think right, you cannot get it right. Yeah. So even about money, you need to have the correct processes. For example, in investment and what? The moment you have a get-rich-quick attitude, you might hate me for telling it to you. One way to spot a fraudulent thing is that you are going to get rich now. In the natural course of things, wealth grows over time. So the idea of get rich quick, you'll see lawyers. And for me, I do not, like I was telling you, some of the values we hold, I think, have run out of fashion, like honor. You know, we see gold deals and the people involved in, you know, the members of the society who are involved in this. Me, I do not honor you because you are driving an expensive car. You know, when you seem sorry for using this example, look at the car Sim drives. I mean, you are not in a race. Me, I do not believe in being a race of driving the best car. That's not how I honor people. Yes, I must have this and what. One of my actually seniors who I respect the most, Mr. Tuvaju Katen, is here. You see, when you come by, stood up to greet him, the honor thing. It's not. You know, if you want to make money as that, maybe you go to school. This is a profession. You want to make money, yes, but it is not in the sense of money and money for alone. And so if you are just money and money alone, you are going to hate everything I'm saying. I don't want you to succeed. Yeah. Well, maybe you want to go to other, there are many people on YouTube now, how I make all the money over what sell cars. Maybe that is the forum. What we are talking about is living as a professional. Let me add this, Joshua. And in question of honor, do you really think that a law firm like Katende has been getting where it is without investing in studying how do you attract and keep talent? At a level, it is even insulting to them to say, you Sim and Professor Sempewa, if you want to keep lawyers, you have to pay them. You want to tell Professor Sempewa that? You really do not imagine that he knows that? So, to come to money, money is important. We need to first understand it itself. We need to have the right principles in place. It's going to take some time. Rome was not built in one day. Let's find other talents. Dr. Joyce has told us she's a motivator. People have. Let me tell you about two of my bosses. I worked at Biencha Chika, and both my first boss, Blazy, and Justice Oscar Chika, are very good, fine artists. They had done art in A-level. It's an art. It's something they kept doing. Before Justice Oscar, I used to have shows. He used to have a production company. He did many things. So those are some of the things we can look to getting. And again, Josh, believe me, and Tony, please understand, from we've interacted a lot. I do not know if you sense anything in me that is either negative or saying that we want you to do. This society belongs to you. I'm simply saying that the conversation of, hey, senior lawyers rape us, is not as productive as saying, John, let's have a conversation on this telecom sector. How do we position? What do we do? Let's have trips of young lawyers to Kenya. Ask your friends in Kenya, how are you doing this? How can we make this better? So I think that's what I can say about finances.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to give you just one more second to just give me one practical step of how a young lawyer should manage their finances.
But let me talk about, for example, savings. I'm not... I was a young lawyer with maybe about 5 million shillings or something. I had a very inspirational good friend of mine who I won't mention. So we go to do a land transaction, and the broker actually tells me, do you know you can actually buy this acre house? He says, can bring 4 of your friends and buy it. So when you don't have the money, but you have the same problems and one of the practical things to do is to have a saving scheme with your fellow lawyers and invest in it. At least you say, this year, the 20 of us, if I can't buy an acre alone, but if I put 4 million shillings and we are 20 of us, that is so much something you can do. The law, if you have the right attitude, can be a gift that continues giving. Every time you advise on the transaction, you are learning about that transaction. Maybe one of these days you could start import trade yourself instead of, if you are learning something. And again, that's, like if you listen, especially to Silva Kayondo, if I were you, I would follow him. If you advise on the transaction, you have a head. What is it telling you? If you're going to tell me there's going to be oil here, there is local content, you don't have only to fix yourself into the mind of saying, I am an advisor. How about you are a company secretary of a company that is looking to position for local? Those are the opportunities. And like I was saying, Josh, for me, I think these are the more positive, constructive engagements that we need to continue having.
Yes, thank you so much. To the media team, I would want to, I don't know if we have any questions that are coming in online, but we are about to open the conversation to the general public. But I'll want to go to Mr. Sim. Let's try and wind up as early as possible. The question that is coming in is that in a highly competitive legal environment, what practical steps can young lawyers take to differentiate themselves to ensure that their services are valuable to both the clients and to the firms?
Thank you very much, Joshua, again. Now, everybody has been talking about young lawyers. There's a problem. You're not doing this. From the perspective of many employers, there's a view, maybe these young lawyers are not as hardworking. Maybe they are not as committed. Maybe the legal training they got was not the best. So when they come, you find you're even correcting things like spelling errors, and you're wondering, why do I have to do this? Somebody, you want to send him to meet a client, and you're not sure that they will have the EQ to know what not to say and what to say. They may go there and they may say something which does not reflect the values of your firm and the reflection of yourself. So if I was a young lawyer now, what would I do to stand out? Or maybe, let me just tell my story, because that might be easier and it may give you an inkling. When I joined the firm I'm working at, they were doing a lot of legal work, but there were areas of the law which they were not touching at all. Nobody was doing listings, nobody was doing anything to do with securities. And I remember asking, why aren't we doing this? And I was told, look, you have your day-to-day work, but if you're interested in that area, fine, go out and create that area of practice. So if you're a young lawyer, your first thing is to say, I am there with 10 other people. Why should they pick me? And the way they pick you is, 1, are you more diligent than the people you're working with? 2, when they give you an assignment, do you go above and beyond? I want to give you an example. When you're with a client, and the client has come to you to draft a document, he said, I want to float a company. You draw the memorandum and the articles of association, you go and you register it with URSB. Of course, now with Mercy, that's probably a 10-minute process, and you tell the client, thank you, back, and leave. Will that client come back to you? Now compare it with somebody who says, okay, I've incorporated your company. What is your company planning to do? Oh, you know what? We are a logistics company. We want to start, importing goods from China. Then you say, oh, okay. That means you're going to need offices. Yes. I know somebody who can rent your warehouse. What else? Oh, if it's logistics, it means you're going to need trucks. I know someone who can help you get those trucks. Oh, you're going to need licenses. URA is a problem. But you know what? I know someone who knows the man in charge of customs at URA. Let's go and register you so that when your goods come, instead of taking 1 week, they will take 3 days. Do you see how by doing that, you are actually adding more value to the client? Do you think that client will go to another lawyer or they'll come back to you? I ask many young lawyers this question, and I think this is the one you should. If you live with nothing else, remember this. A client will only give you work as long as he feels that by dealing with you, he is either making more money, he is saving money, or your work is helping him keep his job or get promoted. Those are really the three tests for every client. If I work with you, if you do this case and solve it in 6 months, it's saving me money. If you win this case, you're bringing me money. If you advise me this way and you've saved me money. So every time you're having a discussion with a client, ask yourself, am I answering one of those questions? Am I showing him a way he can make more money? Am I showing him a way he can save money? Am I showing him a way he can keep his job or get promoted? As long as every conversation you have with a client is dealing with that, you will never look for clients. They will look for you. And as long as the conversations you're having are not dealing with that, that client will always have somebody else he talks to. So the simple, and I give this example a lot, the simple practical example, I'll ask you. All of you are here saying clients are not giving us work. How many of you in the last 6 months have given your clients opportunities to make more money? How many of you in the last week have seen an advert in a newspaper which would be of interest to a client of yours and called them and said, by the way, there is this bid, this opportunity for you. Have you taken it up? How many of you have got a client who has put up apartments and is looking for tenants, and you've linked him up with another client who's looking for places to rent? How many of you have done that cross-selling where one client, you're helping them get business from another client of yours? If you have not done that, why should that client give you more money? So if you're a young lawyer and you want to make yourself stand out, you stand out by, he talked about, what was it? The problem is financial harassment. What's the flip side? If you want to stand out, show that within your firm, you are that lawyer who understands that the firm is a business and everything you're doing is helping generate more income. If you make money for the law firm, you will never have to worry about harassment, about no pay, about leave days, about what. We have lawyers in our office, he talked about maternity leave, who take 8 months of maternity leave, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and they find their jobs waiting. Because we are the ones who want them to be with us. We sit here and we say there are 1,000 people coming out of law school, but at the same time we sit and we say, we can't find anybody to hire. Because most of the people are not thinking that way. So if you want to stand out, take that. How many opportunities are you generating for your client? The minute you're generating opportunities for your clients, those clients will always pay you. Because the man will say, you are the one who brought me this opportunity. Why should I hire anybody else? And at that time, he won't pay you according to the advocate's fees rules. You know that last section which leaves it open for you to agree with the client? That is the only area you should be playing in. But the only way you play in that is if you are showing the client. So if I'm a partner at a law firm, and this is an associate who's generating a lot of money, do you think there is a chance I will fail to pay them at the end of the month? Do you think any of those problems, you're talking about enrollment being delayed. We used to wait for 2 years to be enrolled. You think if Wambi was the lawyer I really wanted to handle this case, I wouldn't go to the CJ himself and say, please sign his thing? But if he's somebody who is just there, I'll also say, let him take his time. If you go to your workplace, this is the last point I'll make. Any of you who's employed at whatever level you're at, I want you to take 2 days off and don't go to work. If you are not missed, if nobody calls you complaining, if no client is asking where you are, if your boss is not looking for you, know that you're already unemployed.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are receiving comments online. Joseph Gamukama says young lawyers have unrealistic expectations. Last one, Gulume says, or no, Mutesi Praise says, thank you, Tony. Sheila Tukunda says, Tony Bakube. Ivan says, following closely. And there are questions that are coming in that I'll definitely roll out, and we should be closing in the next 5 minutes. But this question will go to Tony, and I think that would be the last before we open up the conversation. Mr. Tony, in your advocacy currently, what you have done, you have given men fish, but you have not taught them how to fish themselves. What you've done, you've fed them for 1 day, but it is important that you get to teach them how to fish. How did you establish Tumukunde? You left the Uganda Registration Service Bureau. Maybe if you were still there, you wouldn't be in this fight. How did you start? How do they get there? In just 1 minute, then we close over the conversation.
Thank you so much. In a few seconds, building a career. 1, I'm in office at 7:30. I leave at 10 p.m. Building a career. I have a team that I hired that has more qualification than me. Building a career. You called me. I told you tomorrow I'll be not around because I'm going to South Africa to escort a member who is going to defend an aerospace case with Ethiopian Airways. I'm not the one. I hired somebody in my law firm, building a career. Financial discipline. There is what they call IPS, individual propensity to save. And for me, I believe in 3 tenets. 1, eat some, give some, save some. For me, when I get that, those are, don't do like what I do. Probably, I might be saving 30%, but that is what I follow. I eat some. So if you find me, if John finds me at OT or at Noni, I am eating some. If you see me giving 200,000, I'm giving some, but I save some. How did I start? I left URSB, but before going to URSB, I was at K&K. Then when I left URSB, I went back to K&K. I decided that by the time I make 30, I must be self-employed. I left K&K. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are closing the conversation and opening it up. I'll give you only 3 minutes. Please, if you have a question from the audience, you can take it. Oh, we start with the council member, Western Region. He had an information. Kindly, the microphone. I see the questions are coming in. Please, one question for each. But while, okay, council member,
Thank
the
you
information.
Very much, our dear panelists and colleagues, unfortunately, even when I stand, it may not make a difference, so allow me to make my comments while seated. My name is Alan Msasde. I am a lawyer and managing partner of a law firm that has existed since 1979 in Imbarara. That is Katembeko and Company Advocates. But on the topic of this discussion this evening, I have a personal experience, especially for the regional law firms. The issues the young lawyers are raising are real and they exist. However, the comments that have been given by the senior colleagues is how are we driving the discussion? And that's where I come in. First, I'll give a few points of information that as the Uganda Law Society under the Ondo administration, we have a CLE calendar that has seen over 20 CLE points be awarded for free. All these events, we have implemented them. So the notion that young lawyers are paying the same amount to generate the required 20 CLE points should be dealt away with because the current administration of the Law Society has had that addressed. If you want, I can mention them for you. We have had bar bench forums where some of these young lawyers don't want to attend. We have had the launch of the new lawyer. We have had an eve of training. I think this one is not yet confirmed, but we have put out the call. And every young lawyer interested is being asked to come. This actually has 3. The first 2 have 2 points each. We have had a Uganda Retirement UBRA, that association, parastatal authority. It has done trainings in all the regions, and this yearly have had 5 points, they have been for free. In regions, not even in Kampala. So when a young regional lawyer from Kasese, from Barara says, it is too expensive for me to come to Kampala, we have 5 salary points for you to attend this training.
Yes,
it
thank
happened
you.
in Fort Portal and so many other trainings.
Thank you.
Then the other information, former CEO has hinted on it, we have an anti-sexual harassment policy as a society.
Thank you so much.
The only thing we have to do is have it implemented. Online enrollment, the Undo administration again saw this when we are coming into. Some of us, these are the things we campaigned on. And as we leave office, we have made sure that baby steps are taken. Because you realize that these are things that are done by government. It is not a one-day thing that the society is going to do. But as the Law Society, we moved all our membership to an online portal. We didn't only do that, we have established an e-receipt, which can be recognized and respected by the judiciary. Once that crosses to the Chief Registrar's office, she has no other option of asking, at this, it will just come and an online PC will be issued.
Thank you.
As a society, we have done that.
Thank you so much.
My comments, Joshua, that was information I thought I would give earlier in the
okay,
discussion.
okay. In just a second.
My concern is that this problem we are having is 2 things. One, it has to deal with the self-entitlement of the generation we have today that the panelists have hinted upon. And this has again gone to see that the mental health of the young lawyers is being affected. Reason being, their entitlement, the sense of self-entitlement is so high and far detached from the realities of the world. So whenever they are disappointed, we have many of the young lawyers in our firms suffering mental anguish. People are contemplating suicide. So as a society, where I come from, I think this is a challenge we need to address. But the root cause, which I believe we need to address, not only as a society, but as a country, the training of the legal professionals.
Thank you so much.
It goes to the training. Mr. Sim Katende, I wish you had an opportunity. Why don't you tell us whether we should now have law as a second degree, such that we have a young lawyer who knows Finnish contract, who knows something about construction. We have a young lawyer who knows about accounts and has a value proposition to the firm. Should our legal training go to this? Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I couldn't cut you short. You are a council member. You may fire me.
My apologies.
So
my
you
apologies
can send the microphone. But they say his term is ending soon. But when you see a man defending a regime, that it means he may rerun. You can send the microphone. Muyaka, you'll just use a second. My time is running out. You give it to Mr. Philip after.
A second. Okay, thank you. I think maybe young lawyers ought to realize over and over employers don't pay employees to the magnitude of their financial problems. So in the same sense, senior lawyers will never pay a young lawyer the magnitude of your financial problems. That may be because your rent is 300, your transport is 200, so you'll pay that extreme of your financial problems. So as the young lawyers, when you realize that, then you need to look at alternative income besides what we get from law firms or what. So just put yourself in a position that if I wasn't a lawyer, what would I be earning from? So you add that and earn from that as you progress with your career to get more money as from lawyering. I think that's only my addition because of the limited time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Before Mr. Philip comes in, there is a question online for you, Madam Joyce. It says that how does value addition look like apart from working extra hard and studying and skilling? That's the question to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My name is Mnavi Philip. My word to the young lawyer who is here or listening out there. Above all the things everyone has said here, if you don't practice patience, you're in a very wrong profession. I started with a firm, KTA. I always tell this story, and I'm telling it the 1,000th time. When the firm had just started, we visited the late Ntabugobwa with Counsel Edgar. I've seen him here. The late told Edgar, you've just started? Thank you. Give it 10 years. I got shocked. I was like, 10 years? But my friends, after 10 years, KTA was one of the most trending firms. If you don't want to practice patience, out. You're in a wrong place. But still on the solution side, I intend to run for secretary, Uganda Law Society.
Thank you so much.
And I am telling you, my brother Wambi, I want to come up with a solution that I think is also good to add value to you, which is continued training. Under my administration, I'll fight to see that we have a ULS institute that trains you further, post-enrollment, to see that you become the person who can add the King James English to a document after 2 years. When I was at KTA, all the time, I was paid 250,000. My first employers are here. But all the time, and I think I cheated this firm, all the time I was perusing documents, learning how to draft, learning the King James Version English, which I apply today.
Thank you so much.
So, my brother, patience, value will give you the money that you want. But beyond patience, go to Chikubu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll let us use at least a second, but let me read this comment. It says that Joshua for President, Uganda Law Society. I don't think I qualify, but I'll consider
Joshua,
since everyone is talking about nominations.
Mine is just appreciating Uganda Law Society together with the panelists. Thank you so much for sharing with us your wisdom. It has not been only for the young lawyers, but for all of us. I worked with Wameli and company advocates since I started my practice 7 years or 8 years ago. Unfortunately, Mr. Wameli is now in heaven. May his soul rest in eternal peace. There is no day Mr. Wameli paid me a coin.
Thank you.
But I worked diligently. I learned. Now I have Kratos advocates. Thank you so much. If I had heard those words many years ago, I think I would be more different. But thank God that now I can hear them from John, from Doctor, from Sim, and for everyone there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're the last person. Pass it to the lady, and then it will go this side. But sir, you've spoken so well. Are you also standing for any position? Oh, no, I was just asking.
You were just asking.
Oh, are you?
It is true. I'm Tuliam Sima Geoffrey. I am standing for Central Representative, Uganda Law Society.
Thank you. To the lady.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes.
I would like to first thank the panelists
for
the insightful discussion today. My cry out is to the senior lawyers. Please, when these young lawyers come to your law firms, take time and mentor them. Like if you have a meeting, go with them. If you're going to court, go with them. I had Counsel Sim saying that sometimes they fear sending some lawyers to meet their clients because they don't know how they're going to represent the firm. But if you've taken some time and move with this lawyer to these meetings, next time when you send them, they'll know exactly what to say. Thank you so much.
We have some ladies here. You'll just have to excuse me before we put it there. Please just put it to the ladies here. But my time is fast spent. Some messages coming in that say, Mr. John, thank you so much for the advice. Mr. Mr. Sim Katende, how have you kept the humor even when you are a planned kid? Huh? I don't know about that, but let that lady...
Thank you, moderator. My name is Josephine Luzige, and I've benefited from the panel discussion. I should thank the panelists. However, I am not restricting my submission to the senior lawyers or the young lawyers, but I would love to comment that the Uganda Law Society, which is the body that governs lawyers, governs both the senior and the junior lawyers. There are some valid points that have been raised, both by the senior advocates and the young lawyers. And the Uganda Law Society, being the body that binds us all, holds the power and the mandate to sort some of these issues that are really valid. Because as a young lawyer, I was agreeing with quite a lot that the senior lawyers were speaking to us about. Value addition, patience, the motivation, blah, blah, blah. I disagreed at a certain point, but I agreed with them because you have the experience. But still, I couldn't help but pick a lot of relatable circumstances from Mr. Wambi's talk. So I don't know, but to the people that have been using this period of asking questions to campaign, and to the people that are coming to serve the Uganda Law Society, use the society to cater for all lawyers.
Thank you.
Be it a senior lawyer or a young lawyer, because I believe the difference between a junior lawyer and a senior lawyer, because we all hold the same degree. The difference is that if I was born in 99, you were born in 67. It's just biological luck.
Thank you.
So
Thank
lastly, and I'm trying to be modest.
Thank you.
Lastly, I just want to speak to Mr. Wambi. It didn't quite settle down well with me when he was being told I wouldn't employ you. Well, I would just want to reassure him as a young lawyer that agrees with our position and the senior advocate's position, because I'm in the middle at this point, that no one can define your career, Mr. Wambi. True. You hold a law degree. Whether they do not employ you here in Uganda, there are very many opportunities out there. And this goes to other young lawyers as well.
Thank you so much. We say amen for that. Let me just have one person here. There is a lady in white, and I'll close. I've seen the president, Uganda Law Society, looking at me. So I think my time is fast spent. Please, this side, we can close. Unless Mr. President allows to give us one more minute, but my time is really out. Another comment coming in here, Mr. Tone Tumukunde, I have my passport. How do I go with you for the oral space? Is that something, in case you can consider? Please, let us conclude with her.
Thank you, Josh. I want to align myself with the opinions of Dr. Joyce, Counsel, Mr. Sim Katende, and Mr. John Musime. Sorry. I would like to advise young lawyers, practice does not operate in a vacuum. If you've seen money come in, 30 million, someone emphasized the 30 million, this money has to cater for expenses, office expenses, client work, disbursements, transport. You're not going to walk to court. You'll have to take a border or you'll take an Uber. Most of you now can't even take borders anymore. You'll have to pay filing fees out of that money you're looking at. So let's be practical. And one of the speakers also mentioned that the economy, the current economy, the rate of inflation is high. The things that everything now costs high, a penny. We no longer have free services. Before, lawyers used to walk to URSB, but now URSB shifted to Kololo. So that's also an expense. There's so many expenses.
Thank you.
So everything is very expensive. So let's be realistic.
Thank you.
That's
so
the
much.
reality of life.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I will now yield the time back to my panel. I'm really very sorry. I will have to give back the microphone to my panel. We shall do a small and smooth rollout for just a minute for all of us so that we can conclude, and we shall start with Mama Joyce Nalunga.
Thank you so much. I just want to say lastly that let us all remember one thing, that our future is bigger than now, and we should try as much as possible not to see ULS as a threat. ULS as an institution has strength and weakness. Leverage on its strength to get better. Like I was a CEO, I went for interviews, I used that to get the next job. And it has weaknesses, financial challenges and constraints. So we should remember that we can do our level best to reskill, retool, make yourself a lawyer of value. And we've picked the skills that were shared here: save money, plan. It is so sad when I was a CEO to visit a lawyer on his deathbed when he cannot even sell the car that he has been driving because it already has a loan. So let's work better, manage expectations. I also realize lawyers live a flamboyant life they can't afford because they are comparing themselves with a lawyer next door. So live within your means, think big, dream big, and increase your value every day. Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wambi, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. My appeal would go to the senior lawyers to recognize the potential of young lawyers in the coming generation. And I call upon the urgent intervention of Uganda Law Society on upholding the welfare and the problems of young lawyers in the emerging society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. John Musime.
Thank you, Josh. It's been a very meaningful conversation. I am sure everybody has gotten points to take out. In the midst of the conversation, there's something that we picked up, which is on stress. Because I've been hearing a lot of this, I happen to have the opportunity of representing the Law Development Center in the last 5 years or so. So we hear a lot about stress and, unfortunately, suicide. I thought I would take 1 minute to talk about this and say that, one, first and foremost, the stress thing is not one way. Again, my theme has been to kill this divide of looking at. I think, we are training adversarial nature, opposite verses, for us to say this is not old versus new or young. It's a future we have borrowed from the young. We are interested in the young doing well. We should encourage more meaningful conversation on how to make things better so that we have empathy for each other. As a young lawyer, you're looking only at the salary. But now today is 28th. All of us who have the responsibility to steward our law firms and people, we are looking at salaries of all those 35 people. There is a landlord. The 15th of the month came. We have VAT to remit. We have children to go to school. We are also Africans. We don't look only after our children. So, in fact, if you look at members we have lost, look at their average age. I can tell you that many lawyers, especially men, are in the ages of 40, 45. Many names are running in my mind, I can't tell you. People have collapsed in offices. So this conversation of saying stress is only for the young, it's a problem for all of us. And again, solution, we don't want to pontificate and say, prioritize your health. What does it mean in simple terms? There's many things. They say, sweat in training and bleed less in battle, okay? For me, I want to assure you that a lawyer's life, especially a successful lawyer one's, is a stressful one. Whichever way you look at it, the Honorable Attorney General was here. Can you stop for a moment to think about the things on his mind? Kenya, oil, they've banned oil now, there's a petition, there is a now law council thing. Can you imagine the stress? So part of that is for us to become tougher. This is not to say just man up. I'm simply saying, by getting therapy, by becoming physical. You might know, Tony might know, is that I indulge in long distance running. Yes. Part of that is to be physically and mentally in the place to take the stamina, because unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished. The higher you go, like if you're a good associate in a law firm, it simply means they give you more work, more deadlines, and all of that. So part of the challenge we are having is to try to have a generation that has tenacity as well. Again, I'm not in the toxic thing of just man up, but if you are so easy to break, we lose cases, clients' things are deadlines and all of that. So we need to get into spaces, trainings, and mental and physical that help us to deal with this stress, because the stress is real. Sim was talking about problem solving. We work in problems. Problems is our work. So we need to adapt ourselves to it. Thank you very much, and I hope that the conversation can continue in other forums. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sim.
Okay, thank you. First, I think we should have two immediate takeaways from this. The first is, I think all the universities where we have law students should hold panels like this for their first-year law students. So that at the start, once somebody has joined law school, at that stage, they start preparing them for what to expect, not just to look at, my end goal is to work in a law firm. I think that would go a long way. I also think LDC, I think I'll speak to Pamela about this, should also hold a similar panel in the first week of LDC with practitioners, so that the people who are at LDC also don't come and walk into the world with their eyes wide shut. You want to come in when they know the reality of what they are going to face. If that happens, maybe it will go a long way in preparing some of the younger lawyers for what the reality on life is. Nobody doesn't want to pay. Everybody would be happy paying you whatever you want. The reality is the clients don't pay that much, so they can't afford to pass it on. I want to just respond quickly to two things which were flagged. One was, I think somebody mentioned Councillor Wambi and hiring him. You remember I said that every time you're going to speak and you're going to be appearing before a judge, before a client, you have to know that this particular audience that I am speaking to, am I speaking in a way that they would want to hire me? So the way you talk to your wife is not the way you talk to your employer, is not the way you talk to your pastor. So in each of the areas, part of the training of a lawyer is to know how to speak to the different audiences. Once you learn that, it will minimize your friction with the clients. And then somebody asked, oh, what is it, being a planned kid and all that? Interesting. I will tell you two things. First, if you come from a law firm, if you are in my position and you have a parent who is a successful lawyer, unfortunately, the pressure which everybody else has, because they don't have a standard by which they are measured, is significantly lower. Because whatever you do has to at least meet that standard. It means the people who meet you will always be assuming, oh, you are there because of your surname. So you have a higher duty to demonstrate that you can actually stand on your own 2 feet. So I think the easiest answer I can give is I've been practicing for over 20 years. I have worked with so many people in different ways and interacted with them. The easiest way is to gauge and say, the people I have interacted with, do they believe we have imparted, at least in an individual capacity, some value to them? Or do they think, X is there because of this? So the answer is, you learn to take pressure because you play the hand you're dealt. In life, you play the hand you're dealt. This is the hand I was dealt. It's the one I have to play with. So irrespective of that, what I want to conclude with is, for every young lawyer who is out there, we are lucky that we're in a profession which does not pigeonhole you into only working in a law firm. A doctor will only be a doctor. But there are many lawyers who become bankers, lawyers who join NGOs, lawyers who become politicians. I have somebody here who interned at our law firm and then joined Equity Bank. So there are so many opportunities that this profession gives you. So don't lock yourself in on only one. There are very many ways, as they say, to get to heaven. So if you are working at a law firm and you're not happy, you can go and work in another one. You can go and start your own law firm. Do not believe that because X has been successful with one path, that is the only path. John asked about cars. There was a time when I was very keen on cars. The car I'm driving now is the same car I've driven for the last 7 years. I've never changed cars. Yet somebody would say, but it's easy, why don't you change cars every year? But you get to a point where you're like, no, this is not what is important. So as long as when you're starting out, you tell yourself, there's a gentleman called Godfrey Lulé. Some of you may have heard of him. You know the firm Sebalo and Lulé, the one who started it? I spoke to Mr. Lulé and he told me, I have been a lawyer longer than Uganda. He, I think, was permitted to practice in 1959. Yeah. But 59 is when he was here. He told me 59 is when he started working here. He has been practicing longer than Uganda and he's still practicing. So if you think 2 years is a long time, with law you can work till you're 85. 2 years is a very small time for you to pay, to say, let me learn some more, and this will make me be in a position to earn better for all of those years. Tony here gave you an example. He said he first worked at a law firm. He worked at URSB. He went back and worked at a law firm and then started his law firm. I don't think he would have been as successful if he had started his law firm straight from law school without first putting in those years. So take those 2 years as I am building for what is going to make me survive and make money for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tony, please, you summarize.
Okay, when I was being trained at K&K is one of the biggest law firms in this country, which hires you from LDC and builds you up to Supreme Court. And you can see the ages of their practitioners. KK used to tell us, the AG, that we are all equally foolish and equally wise. What a young person may know, an old person might not know. And he used to give us how a young person advised him to begin drawing matrices on winning election petition. And he uses that trick up to now. It was a young person that drew a matrix, a problem, a section, and a solution. And that was equally wise. So for me, I would tell you, we are all equally foolish and at the same time, equally wise. Let's treat others with dignity. But if you want to see a man's measure, just look at them, how they treat their inferiors, not their equals. For me, that whoever is coming in ULS, just ponder about that. And it is one thing before we leave this rostrum today. Are you treating your inferiors well, or you're looking at equals being treated well? Then to the young lawyers, I'll tell you 3 things that I've learned. Please know your past, manage your present. If you know those 2 things, you will not see me doing something and you think I have no basis for doing it. I know my past. Probably I come from a very poor background, and so I need to enjoy if I've got some money, or I need to save, I need to give out, I need to eat. So please know your past. The way Sim eats his money is not the way you should eat it. The way John eats his money is not the way you should do it. I usually joke with Awake. The stockings that he puts on, I cannot put them on because they are more expensive. So let you not be driven by other lawyers' desires. Do your thing. No matter what, you would succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We shall now conclude our panel. But in conclusion, we started with the story of a young lady called Jennifer. And in the conclusion here, it is definitely that Jennifer's story is an emblematic of the struggles faced by many young lawyers around Uganda. And addressing these challenges will require a concerted effort from the educational institution, the law firms, and the professional bodies to create a more supportive, fair, and accessible legal profession. There is one question that we did not attend to, and that is the issue of the Law Council and the LDC, but that will be attempted by the panels coming on tomorrow. I can only say thank you. I will just read out one last comment from a gentleman. He sent this comment before we started the panel, where he inquired and said that the panelists being aligned today do not resonate to young lawyers, and most of them do not know the hustle of a young lawyer. But he just texted me right now, and he said, no wonder it was the best panel for the day. Thank you so much. I request my panelists to just go there and get a photo moment. I don't know whether the MC of the occasion is available, but if he's not available, it will be my singular honor to invite the president of the Uganda Law Society to come and take a picture with us, and then I yield the floor to him. Thank you so much, sir. My parting shots to young lawyers: never fight the Uganda Law Society. It's a big, big brand. Why I'm here today is because of Madam Joyce Nalunga and the Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Let's applaud this panel. Let's thank them. They've done a very good job. So I'm going to ask our council member for Central to just come and wish us a good evening. Council member for Central, since we're in Central Region, to come and wish us a good evening and let us know that tomorrow is another day. Just remember that tomorrow we are starting at 8 and we are starting on time. We are starting at 8 and we are starting on time. We're also hosting the Deputy Chief Justice. So please keep time, so that we can be able to finish on time. Over to the council members.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I wish to thank each one of you for being patient with us. I know we've gone beyond the stipulated time, but kindly, thank you so very much. Yes, let me take this opportunity to thank the panelists that were here with us today. Thank you. All that you discussed was very insightful. Really appreciate. Thank you. Please don't forget, tomorrow we are here, same place. Kindly keep time, come. We're going to begin with sessions in the morning. So